Imagine a world where celebrating Christmas could get you arrested. No songs, no decorations, no feasting, no rest. A world where December 25th was treated like any other working day, or worse, a day of suspicion. This is not fiction. This happened. There was a time when Christmas was not just frowned upon, it was illegal. And the people who banned it claimed they were doing God's work. Tonight, we uncover the forgotten history of the year Christmas was outlawed, a story of fear, power, rebellion, and forbidden joy. Before Christmas became a quiet family holiday, it was chaos. In ancient Europe, December was already sacred long before Christianity arrived. The Romans celebrated Saturnalia, a festival of role reversal, excess, drinking, feasting, gambling, and public disorder. Masters served slaves, work stopped, rules collapsed. When Christianity rose to power, church leaders faced a problem. They could not erase these traditions. So instead, they absorbed them. December 25th was chosen, not because Jesus was born then, but because it replaced pagan celebrations already rooted in the people. Christmas was never born pure, it was inherited. And that inheritance would later terrify religious extremists. By the 1600s, a radical group called the Puritans gained influence in England. They believed pleasure was sinful, celebration invited temptation, joy distracted from God. To them, Christmas was pagan, drunken, sexual, corrupt. They hated the songs, they hated the food, they hated the laughter. But more than that, they hated loss of control. In 1647, under Puritan rule, England officially banned Christmas. Parliament declared December 25th a normal working day. Churches were closed, decorations were forbidden, celebrations were punished. Soldiers were sent into towns to tear down decorations, break up feasts, arrest celebrators. People were fined, shops were forced open, ministers who preached Christmas sermons were jailed. Joy became a crime. In homes across England, families whispered. Candles were hidden. Songs were silenced. Children were warned to say nothing. Christmas didn't disappear. It went underground. And where joy is outlawed, resistance is born. By the winter of 1647, Christmas had vanished from public life in England. No bells rang, no hymns echoed through churches, no garlands hung from doors. But banning Christmas did not erase it. It transformed it into something dangerous, something whispered about in shadows, something worth risking punishment for. The Puritan government knew something important. A law is meaningless without fear, so enforcement was brutal. Soldiers patrolled towns on December 25th, watching for signs of celebration. Greenery in windows, families gathering too quietly, the smell of roasted meat. Churches were locked shut. Anyone caught attending a Christmas service could be fined or imprisoned. Shopkeepers were forced to open their businesses even if no customers came. Closing your shop on Christmas Day was seen as an act of rebellion. In London, riots broke out when soldiers ripped decorations from homes. People were beaten, arrested, dragged through streets for daring to celebrate. Christmas had become a political crime. To understand the cruelty, we must understand the fear. Puritans believed human nature was sinful by default. Joy weakened discipline. Music invited temptation. Celebration distracted from obedience. But deeper than theology was something else: control. Christmas erased hierarchy. Masters feasted with servants. Work stopped. Rules loosened. For those in power, Christmas represented chaos, and chaos is the enemy of authority. So they crushed it. The Christmas ban did not stay in England. It crossed the Atlantic. In the American colonies, especially Massachusetts, Puritan leaders went even further. From 1659 to 1681, celebrating Christmas in Boston was punishable by law. Anyone caught feasting, resting, or celebrating on December 25th faced fines. Schools stayed open. Work continued. Children were taught Christmas was a lie. Public records show people reported their neighbors. Friends turned on friends. Joy became evidence. Despite the laws, Christmas survived. In secret. Families gathered quietly at night. Candles were lit behind closed curtains. Songs were hummed, not sung. Children were warned never to speak of it. Christmas became a test of loyalty, not to government, but to memory. The harder authorities pushed, the more stubborn people became, because some traditions refused to die. Years passed. Children grew up never knowing public Christmas joy. An entire generation learned that happiness could be dangerous. The ban did not create holiness, it created fear. And fear, once planted, never truly disappears. But power shifts, and bans never last forever. By the late 1600s, something dangerous was happening. People were no longer just whispering about Christmas. They were defying the ban. And defiance, once public, is impossible to control. In England, resistance exploded. On December 25th, crowds gathered in cities like Canterbury and London. They decorated streets openly. They sang carols in public. They dared soldiers to stop them. Riots broke out when authorities tried to enforce the ban. In some towns, Puritan officials were chased out. Homes of anti-Christmas leaders were attacked. Church bells rang in open rebellion. Christmas became more than a holiday. It became a protest. The Puritan government faced a reality it could not escape. You cannot police every home. You cannot patrol every memory. You cannot arrest a tradition. The ban required constant force, soldiers, prisons, fear. And people were growing tired. Every Christmas enforcement created new enemies. Every arrest created sympathy for the accused. The state was bleeding authority. In 1660, the Puritan experiment collapsed. The monarchy was restored. Charles II returned to the throne. One of the first things to return? Christmas. Churches reopened, bells rang freely, public celebrations flooded the streets. The ban was erased almost overnight. Not because leaders changed their beliefs, but because they lost power. While England celebrated, America hesitated. Puritan influence remained strong in New England. Christmas was still mocked as foolish. Schools remained open. Workdays continued. Even without laws, social pressure crushed celebration. People who celebrated Christmas were labeled immoral, uneducated, dangerous. The ban lived on without chains. Something strange happens when joy is forbidden. It becomes powerful. Christmas survived because it was never just a date. It was warmth, memory, belonging. The Puritans tried to erase joy to create holiness. Instead, they revealed the truth. Any belief system that fears happiness is not afraid of sin. It is afraid of freedom. Christmas was no longer illegal, but it was not yet reborn. For years, it existed in an awkward space, tolerated, mocked, remembered, but not celebrated. Its revival would come from an unexpected source. Not the church, not the state, but commerce. After the fall of Puritan power, Christmas returned slowly. Many churches avoided it. Religious leaders feared excess would return. In America, December 25th remained an ordinary day well into the 1800s. Factories stayed open, schools held classes, newspapers barely mentioned the holiday. Christmas survived in private homes, fragile, uncertain. In 1843, a book changed history. A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. It reframed Christmas, not as chaos, but compassion. Not as drunkenness, but generosity. Not as sin, but moral responsibility. The story spread like wildfire. For the first time, Christmas was portrayed as family-centered, kind, child-focused, emotionally powerful. Dickens did what laws could not. He made Christmas respectable again. Businesses saw opportunity. If Christmas encouraged generosity, it could encourage spending. Stores decorated windows. Advertisements promoted gifts. Seasonal products appeared. Christmas became predictable, controlled, marketable. The chaos Puritans feared was replaced with consumer order. Many ancient Christmas traditions are modern inventions. Christmas trees spread through royal influence. Gift-giving schedules were standardized. Santa Claus was redesigned, friendly, plump, harmless. These traditions were not organic. They were engineered. A safe Christmas was profitable. Christmas returned, but tamed. It no longer threatened authority. It no longer disrupted labor. Work stopped briefly, then resumed. Joy was scheduled. Spending was encouraged. The holiday, once banned for being uncontrollable, had become one of the most controlled days of the year. Christmas returned, but something important was lost along the way. The question is no longer why Christmas was banned. The question is, what replaced it? Modern Christmas feels free, but it is carefully timed. You celebrate when allowed. You rest briefly. You return to work. Joy is compressed into a single season. The chaos that terrified authorities has been eliminated. Christmas no longer disrupts systems. It supports them. As Europe and America stabilized Christmas, it was exported worldwide. Through missionaries, through colonization, through education systems. In Africa, Asia, and indigenous lands, December festivals were labeled pagan, dangerous, backward. Local traditions were replaced. Drums were silenced. Rituals were erased. Histories were rewritten. Christmas became the acceptable celebration. Everything else became forbidden. The Puritans failed because they used force. Modern systems learned a better method. Instead of banning joy, they redefined it. Joy became buying. Togetherness became spending. Meaning became tradition without memory. No soldiers are needed. People police themselves. History reveals a pattern. Power fears uncontrolled joy. Because joy creates unity, weakens hierarchy, reminds people they are human. When joy cannot be banned, it is reshaped. When it cannot be erased, it is owned. Christmas survived prohibition, but survival is not the same as freedom. The real lesson of the Christmas ban is not about religion. It is about power. Any system that fears laughter, music, rest, or celebration is not protecting morality. It is protecting control. And the most dangerous joy of all is the joy that does not ask permission.